what is black fungus. Earlier COVID, now black fungus. This black fungus seems to have rocked India and the cases are rising ever since. Hello everyone, I am Dr. Arvind Kumbakonam, MDS Oral Medicine and Radiology. Today we will discuss what is black fungus. Black fungus is also called as mucormycosis, zygomycosis or phycomycosis. It is a saprophytic fungus which is regularly seen in soil, dusty areas or as molds on decayed food. By saprophytic I mean this derives its nutrition from dead tissues, unlike parasites which derive their nutrition from live tissues. So this will cause necrosis of the tissues, and from that necrosed tissues it will derive its nutrition and it will strive further. This fungus is an opportunistic infection. It means it stays in the oral cavity, nose and the throat of all individuals like me, you, everyone. But when the immunity comes down, it starts showing its effect. It increases multifold and starts causing damage to the tissues. It is non-pathogenic in healthy individuals. It means it will not cause any disease in healthy individuals, but it will cause disease in patients suffering with cancer like lymphomas, leukemias, and in diabetic patients, especially those with diabetic ketoacidosis, and it will also cause disease in patients who are having bone marrow transplant or organ transplantation. Patients with deficient T cell immunity and prolonged neutropenia are also at high risk for mucormycosis. 75% of cases of rhinocerebral mucormycosis are the patients who have diabetic ketoacidosis. So what is diabetic ketoacidosis? Diabetic ketoacidosis is a condition where your body produces lots of amount of ketone bodies and their level increases in the blood. This happens when your glucose is not able to enter the cells and your cells start breaking up your fat to derive energy from them. In that process, lot of ketones are generated and their level increases in blood. If this condition is not treated, it gets converted to diabetic ketoacidosis. Increase in the blood glucose levels is a very good medium or environment for the fungus like mucormycosis to replicate. Patients with burns and open wounds are also at high risk to develop mucormycosis. And now I will be telling you few group of drugs, and if you are using them, you should be protecting yourself, because patients who are using these drugs are at high risk to get mucormycosis. And these group of drugs are antimetabolites, steroids and chemotherapeutic agents. Before going into the clinical features, we shall discuss what are the types of mucormycosis. So the mucormycosis have two types. One is superficial, the other one is visceral. The superficial type affects the ears, external ear, fingernails and the skin. And the visceral type has three subtypes: rhinocerebral, pulmonary and the gastrointestinal. The most common, the rhinocerebral mucormycosis, has a subtype which is the rhinomaxillary mucormycosis. Rhinomaxillary mucormycosis is the most common type being affected now, and it starts by inhalation of the fungus through the nose, and which enters the paranasal sinuses, pharynx, orbits and the brain. In case a person is suffering from mucormycosis or you suspect yourself or anyone to have mucormycosis, then you must be able to notice the following things. So these are the red flags, and if you see them, then you should go for a consultation immediately. The first one is mobile teeth. Okay, that is the most important, mobility of teeth in the upper jaw. Second point is halitosis. Halitosis means bad breath. You get a bad smell or bad odor from the patient's mouth. So if he is your close relative and you have not noticed this bad smell coming from the person's mouth earlier, and now he is getting the bad smell, then you need to consult. The third one is tooth pain. If a patient comes with tooth pain or some person has a tooth pain, a dentist should not directly go for a aggressive treatment like extraction of that tooth. So he must keep it in mind that nowadays, because of the rising cases, he has to take a proper history about COVID attack and then decide a treatment plan accordingly. Next is ulcerations in the palate. So these fungal infections get inside the body mostly through oronasal pathway. So there may be chances of having ulcerations in the palate. It may be at the junction of hard or soft palate. These ulcerations are mostly single and have a black curves around them, and these may sometimes become huge enough that can be confused with a oral cancer. The next important clinical feature are intraoral draining sinuses. So if you see pus discharge from anywhere inside the oral cavity, and that too especially in a patient who has recovered recently from COVID, then it is a red flag for mucormycosis. The next clinical feature are pain in the sinuses. So these patients may be suffering from sinusitis. So how to understand that this patient may have sinusitis is by applying pressure over the malar region. So this is a place where the maxillary sinuses are situated. Or you can ask the patient to bend down to pick up some object, and if the patient is feeling heaviness over the maxillary sinuses, then you may suspect this patient having sinusitis and send this patient for a consultation to a specialist. The next important nasal clinical features are stuffiness of the nose and bleeding from the nose, which we call as epistaxis, and also purulent blackish discharge from the nose. So if there is a discharge from the nose slightly with some pus or some black in color, then you have to suspect that this patient may be having mucormycosis and send him immediately to the specialist. So you have to keep watching about all these signs and symptoms. If at all you come across anything, then you should not delay. So coming to the other important clinical features, there may be erythema around the nose, the nostril area, inside the mucosa, there may be erythema, and also there may be erythema around the face. So these facial erythemas are not common, right? Now coming to the other important features, there may be blackish discoloration of the skin, especially the skin over the nasal bridge. This is called as the bridge of the nose, and the skin over the bridge of the nose, if it is having a blackish color, or the palate, intraorally the palate may also show discoloration. So these are important features. And there may be periorbital edema. So around your eyes, if you observe puffiness around your eyes and there is some swelling around your eyes, then that is also an important sign. So these patients may also have pain in the eyes. These patients may have a double vision, okay, diplopia, or a blurred vision. And very important, you can also notice ptosis, which is drooping of your eyelid. So this eyelid may droop suddenly so many times. So then you have to suspect. And other important features of the eye are proptosis. So proptosis is nothing but protrusion of your eyeball. So if you feel like the eyeball has come out slightly, then also it is a very important point to notice. And these patients will also be having fever, and they will be having shortness of breath. Whatever clinical features I have told you till now, and if till now the patient has not identified it and has not sorted out for medical attention, then the next features will be slightly more severe, such as blood vomitings, thrombosis and necrosis, and altered state of mind. So by thrombosis, I mean that these blood clots, tiny clots, they flow along with the blood, and when they reach a very small blood vessel, it will block it, and blood will not be able to pass through it, and the organ which is next to it, it will be devoid of any blood supply, and it will cause necrosis. And this necrosed tissue is black in color, and that is the reason why this fungus is named as black fungus, because it causes severe necrosis of the tissues. And as we have discussed earlier, this is a saprophytic fungus. It will derive its nutrition from the necrosed or dead tissues. If there is pulmonary involvement, the patient may complain of chest pain, and there may be pleural effusion. After the clinical features, we will discuss about the investigations. So in the investigation, we have the radiological investigation and the lab investigation. In the radiological investigation, we will be taking a contrast enhanced CT-PNS. PNS is paranasal sinuses. So a CT-PNS will show us the extent of bony involvement, which will help us in deciding our treatment plan. The CT may show mucosal thickening, inflammation of the nasal turbinates, fluid-filled sinuses, sequestration, and bony erosions. Coming to the lab diagnostics, first you have to go for a deep nasal swab with a potassium hydroxide smear. It is for the fungal culture. Next, you have to get your C-reactive protein levels investigated. Then most importantly, you have to get a negative galactomannan and a beta-glucan test is very important because it excludes aspergillosis. And the last lab investigation is biopsy. So out of the tissue which is collected, 50% of the tissue should be sent in saline for fungal culture and 50% should be sent in formalin to prepare a histopathological slide. Coming to the treatment, the medical line of treatment is, first line is amphotericin B therapy and the second line of drugs are isavuconazole injections and posaconazole injections. If the medical line of treatment is not sufficient and there is necrosis, then we have to go for surgical removal of the necrosed part. Now we will discuss the precautions needed to be taken by post-COVID patients so that they are not infected by mucormycosis. The first and foremost, which we are doing since a year, is wearing a mask whenever you step out of your house. The second, you should cover all the surfaces like wear a full sleeve shirt, long trousers, wear shoes to cover your legs, and if you are interested in gardening or if you are going to touch soil, you should be wearing a gloves. So any cuts and all are not coming in contamination. Maintenance of oral hygiene is of utmost importance, and don't forget brushing your teeth twice a day, and you can add povidone iodine 2% to gargle and rinse your mouth. And coming to the nostrils, you can use 0.5% povidone iodine. Take earbuds, immerse them in 0.5% of povidone iodine, and you can clean your nostrils with them. Patients with diabetes mellitus should maintain their glycemic level at the optimal levels, and it is advisable to defer any non-emergency invasive oral or dental procedures for at least 3 months after the patient has been cured of COVID-19 infection. Patients are advised to use supplements of vitamin A, E and B complex along with high protein and low sugar diet. Vitamin B3 has shown to be effective against fungal diseases. Now we shall discuss the key points for general dental practitioners regarding mucormycosis. So whenever a patient comes to your practice, take history about COVID-19 infection, whether the patient was admitted in a hospital and whether steroids were used to treat him. Next, you have to check the file of the patient to know about the markers like ferritin, CRP levels and blood sugar levels. Ask for symptoms related to nasal discharge, paranasal sinuses, ophthalmic pain and vision. If intraoral draining sinuses are present, send it for KOH and fungal culture. If in doubt, take opinion from a specialist without going ahead for the treatment. Having said all about mucormycosis, I want to tell you, don't panic if you are a post-COVID patient. It is not going to affect everyone. The chances of getting mucormycosis is very rare, and whatever I have told, it is for your awareness so that you identify symptoms in the earlier stages, which will help treating you promptly. Hope you find this useful. If you have any doubts, please mention in the comment section. Thank you very much.